Please note, for maximum picture quality, it may be necessary to adjust the tracking control on your VCR.
So we've got this 2001 A Space Odyssey, right? But it just lacks so much Catholic guilt. What if we took The Devils, added a huge dash of Holy Mountain, a sprinkle of Fantastic Planet, brew this at blood temperature in a sensory deprivation tank, actually add some ayahuasca and magic mushrooms first, and then brew it for about an hour and 40 minutes. And we'll end up with a film that devoured a live goat so the fly could vomit on one later. We're talking about Ken Russell's Altered States. And this is Adjust Your Tracking, a podcast or an adventure to watch a century of cinema decade by decade, year by year. I'm one half of your hosts, Liam Delaney, and with me is...
Hello, I'm Oliver Jones.
Hey.
How you doing? You good?
I'm good. I'm excited.
You good?
I'm good.
Yeah.
Are you good? Are we just saying this back and forth?
I'm good. And we have a guest with us today.
I'm not talking to you, fuckers.
What? this guy is a complete and utter asshole. Like, he told us, I can't record this week, so can we postpone it? So we postponed it. So we thought, let's do a filler one. So we did Evil Dead. And I knew we were going to face the wrath of Raynor. Because
of all the films you could have picked,
well,
you went with Evil Dead.
And not only that, I sent him a birthday present a few weeks ago, and he had the audacity to call me a cunt.
You didn't put your name on it. What am I supposed to do?
Surprise! It's a surprise. I thought it'd be obvious who it was from.
Yeah, it was pretty obvious, but I thought it was funnier to call you a cunt, to be honest.
It's not meant to be a surprise who it's from, is it?
Well,
that isn't a normal thing.
No, I know it's not, but it doesn't matter anyway. Like, so tell us what we got wrong about Evil Dead and what we should have mentioned.
You were
loads we should have mentioned.
Yeah, but you got it pretty bang on. To be fair, the only thing I really objected to was your dismissal of the remake.
I had no dismissal of it. I just haven't seen it, so I can't dismiss it.
You still haven't seen it yet?
No.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of that.
I watched it once quite a few time ago. I don't think it's bad. I didn't mean to sound like I thought it was bad. It's just very full on, I guess. It's just like a really kind of extreme watching experience, which I just found quite difficult, I guess.
I was crying in the cinema when I was watching it. At the end, when she shoves the chainsaw through the demon's face and just starts screaming at it for a good, like, solid 15 seconds as the camera swirls and cranes around her. It's just one of the most glorious things I've ever seen.
I thought you were crying with sadness over the demise of the demon.
I was overjoyed.
Demon.
Intensity.
Demon.
It's an intense film, it really is.
But yeah, it's other than that, you're pretty bang on, I think.
Yeah, I mean, like, to be fair, there's loads of things I thought we could have mentioned and talked about afterwards, but, fuck it.
But yeah, I'm sure I thought of things at the time, and then by the time the episode ended, I'd completely forgotten about them. So, we'll just chalk it up to a missed opportunity and move on.
Well, at the moment, I'm on a Twitter campaign to tweet Bruce Campbell every single day to see if I get a retweet. So.
It's possible.
It's possible.
Has he ever like commented on anything you've done, James, or has he ever like acknowledged your existence?
I don't think he's acknowledged my existence. I have had a retweet from Edgar Wright, I think, at one point. And Bear McCreary once replied to one of my... I posted a bit of music that I'd done, and he replied with like a thumbs up or something.
Yeah, so, nice. A friend of mine got a birthday well wish from fucking Mark Hamill of all people the other day. That was bizarre.
Well, kind of.
Nah, but it was for his birthday. He doesn't say happy birthday, but it was for his birthday.
It seemed like Mark Hamill was accosted to do a cameo for free, basically.
Yeah, but Martin's not a nobody. Well, I don't know. Let's not go there.
I would do what he asked me to do, though, if I was stuck with him.
Yeah, to be fair, if you look at the size of Martin, you'd probably do whatever he says, to be fair. Just type in the world's scariest man on Google and you'll find out who Martin is.
You'll find him, yeah.
So how you doing, James? Are you good?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, thanks. Not a lot going on. Still working.
Yeah.
Heads Are Poppin's finished now.
So what's happening with that now then?
It's out at a few festivals at the moment. Can't post it online until we hear back from those. So yeah, it's just kind of in a state of limbo now until it finishes getting some festival feedback. So I'm just got to wait it out.
But haven't you won something with it, or?
Yeah, the Hollywood Blood Festival. We won Best Dark Comedy.
Oh, sweet.
Well
Yeah.
done.
That's really cool.
That's really the only thing that's happened since. But yeah, it's submitted for a few reviews as well, so we'll see what happens with that. Maybe we'll get some juice off that.
Awesome.
So what's the timeline really for like kind of releasing your film or sending it through kind of festivals? Like how long does that period of sending it to festivals last? Like,
Well, I submitted it to a few which had really short dates on just to kind of gauge how that would pan out, and we got into both of them. So I submitted to a few more which had longer dates, and I think the latest one I've got is like November at the moment. So yeah, we'll see how it goes with those, and if we don't get any more dates, then I might just cancel it and just whack it online. But
So
yeah,
what's
it all depends
anything happening with Fright Fest or anything? Or
well, I haven't reached out to him yet.
right? Fair.
I know Genera, the company that gave us the money, wasn't too fussed about it, and they didn't give us any indication they were going to help us with the submissions or anything. So yeah, we're just got to either pay to submit to Fright Fest or maybe reach out to those judges who gave us the money and see if they can wangle us in there.
yeah.
But I was kind of hesitant to submit to festivals because it's all online with the pandemic and everything, and I was after like a proper screening, see it with an actual audience.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah, well, we'll see how
It's
it
the
goes.
type of film that benefits from an audience, really.
Yeah.
You want people to be reacting to it and, that mass thing.
We did have an online screening, and the feedback from that was good. So I just wanted to hear the feedback actually in the room.
Well, like
It'd be nice.
when I premiered one of my films, Powerless, years and years ago, like one of the pre-films I put on one of James's earlier films called Supernatural on beforehand, and then after it all finished, my dad was like, "Oh, can I watch that Supernatural one again?" I was like, "Not my one. You want to watch it?" Bastard. Anyway. So, what have we all been watching this week? Anything, James?
Sweet.
I watched The Killer for the first time the other day, the 1989 John Woo action classic.
Yeah, is it good?
I don't know that one.
I liked it. It's it's a John Woo film, so you've got the two-handed gunfights, you got the doves, you got the candles, and all that kind of stuff. Didn't think it was as good as Hard Boiled.
No, Hard Boiled was
But-
great.
Yeah, very few things are as good as Hard Boiled.
I've noticed a lot of people are talking about that recently. Is there a reason why? Is it like an anniversary or something?
I don't think so.
I just
haven't
see
seen
it
anything.
popping up in my socials and that a lot recently.
I seem to have lost my DVD, which is very upsetting. So I've had to buy it again.
Is it not on Baby Blue now or
On what?
Blu-ray?
Baby Blue.
I think that, yeah. I think there's an issue with the Blu-rays. I don't know if it's like the poor quality transfers or if it's got dub titles or something like that. I read somewhere that there's an issue. There's not a proper Blu-ray available.
Oh, okay.
There is a really high quality bootleg that's available, but I bought Drunken Master 2 from them and it took about 4 months to arrive. So I want to watch it this week, so I just bought a cheap one off Amazon.
Fair enough.
If you want to see this film. It's funny enough. John Woo's an odd one. He's still making films, isn't he? I don't remember the last time I saw.
Yeah, he's gone back to
Anything
China,
from
like Jackie Chan has. He's gone back and he's making his own stuff without having to deal with Hollywood. Although he does have to deal with the Chinese government, but that's apparently less offensive than Hollywood.
He did his two kind of. Didn't he do like a kind of Chinese epic? at
Red
one
Cliff.
point?
Redcliffe, yeah.
Red Cliff,
He's done
that's
two of
it,
them, I
yeah.
think, hasn't he?
I'm not sure. Redcliffe was a while ago, I think.
Yeah, there's two of them, I think.
Yeah, it was split up into two.
Yeah.
That seems to be kind of a
2008.
prerequisite for working for the Chinese government. You have to kind of do your kind of historical epic and get that kind of propaganda in or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I also found that I've got A Better Tomorrow on DVD, which I'd completely forgotten about, so I'm going to rewatch that at some point.
I've not seen that in 20 odd years, I think.
Yeah, me too. I think that was one of the first DVDs I bought.
Yeah.
It's like one of those old MIA.
Oh,
DVDs.
yeah.
Terrible transfers and the burnt-in subtitles and everything. But yeah, what else have I been watching? I watched Short Circuit the other week. First time in a long time. I've seen the first one.
Was that film like originally intended to be a bit darker than it was? Do you reckon? Or
I'm not sure. I watched an interview with the writers, and they kept talking about how the tone wasn't right, but they didn't specify in what way.
That's a good point.
It's I don't.
I'm surprised that hasn't been remade.
The second one's pretty dark.
Interview like what was it, 5 days ago.
Mm.
Oh yeah, I noticed that's like cropped up again.
Yeah, I think it's a weird one with that because
I can't remember what show it was on, but he was talking about it.
Yeah, it is quite dodgy that he's playing an Indian guy, and
quite dodgy.
Yeah, well, the thing is, it wasn't written as an Indian guy, and then it's more of a reflection on John Badham, the director, than anything else, because he decided to make it Indian and not recast.
Right.
And then Fisher Stevens decided he didn't want to do it, so they recast another white guy to play the part, and then he dropped out, and Fisher Stevens got it back. But he seems like he treated the part with respect, like he wasn't playing it as a caricature. He went off to India and studied like the people and the culture and everything to play the part. So he wasn't just tossing it off. But it's just a dodgy decision in the first place.
If I remember, though, he's not a massive part in the first one, though, really, is he?
No, he's a sidekick.
So, but he's more so the second one where he's like a...
Yeah, he's the lead. That's the one that he really studied up for and went to India.
Right.
For like a month before they started shooting.
I don't remember the second one at all.
It's a good performance, but it's just...
Fisher Stevens is great.
Not very PC.
Yeah.
The second one was more of like a crime heist thing. Like
I really like the second one. I think I prefer the second one to the first one.
Yeah. I just remember the bit where he gets like completely battered up and he becomes like a punk version of himself.
Yeah, it's pretty harrowing where he just gets the shit beaten out of him by these thugs with crowbars, and then he spends half the film bleeding to death.
And then at the end, he's like they do a C-3PO where they kind of like spray him like gold.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember him being gold plated at the end.
Yeah. I always wanted one of those little ones though, because like Benjamin Fisher Stevens' character makes like little versions of Johnny Five. I always wanted one of those.
I have seen a few crop up like 3D printed figures come up on Instagram. You know, there's lots of bootleg merchandise you can get on Instagram. And I've seen some Johnny Five stuff.
Interesting. Liam, you watching anything?
Yeah, what have I been watching this week? I guess in terms of new releases, I watched The Woman in the Window with Amy Adams,
yeah,
and directed by Joe Wright. Yeah, it's Joe Wright. Yeah.
Oh, who did like Anna Karenina?
Yes, Anna Karenina and Pride and Prejudice
stuff.
and Darkest Hour, which I thought was rubbish.
I love Hannah
That's
though.
the Churchill one, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the Churchill.
Yeah,
Hannah is rad though.
Hannah's great. Yeah. So kind of a mixed bag with Joe Wright. He did Pan as well, which I never saw.
Oh, it looked bad.
It looked bad, yeah. And I just don't need to see Peter Pan stories anymore. I don't understand why people keep doing them.
Public domain. Oh no, it's not public domain, is it? It's
it can't.
you got to deal. No, because you got to deal with the Barry estate, and all the money goes to Great Ormond Street, I think.
I just think the Barry estate continuously push it. Basically,
Yeah.
I think they're just really active in selling the rights off and things.
It's an IP, in it, so they're going to continually make it.
There was a Sky One version on telly a few years ago, and my second cousin was one of the Lost Boys in it.
There's a new Peter Pan coming out, isn't there, as well? It's based. It's a Disney live action, so it's based on the Disney live action one or something. Like, is it called Pan and Wendy or something? Is it?
Oh, is that where they've kind of done a bit of a race kind of?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it looks quite good actually. It doesn't look too bad.
Okay. I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're always making Pan films. But like, yeah, Woman in the Window, it's rubbish. It's rubbish. Like, and it's what's really baffling about it is it's basically it's trying to be Rear Window, you know, like, whereas Rear Window, you got like, Jimmy Stewart trapped in that tiny little sweaty apartment. And in this, you've got Amy Adams trapped in a giant 4-story fucking huge house that doesn't have any personality to it. It doesn't have any kind of threat to it. And there's a bit in the middle of the middle of the film where she hallucinates a car crash. I'll try and not give spoilers away if people are going to watch it. But she hallucinates a car crash, and you see the car in this huge house. And it feels like the whole film was designed around, like, Joe Wright had that image in his head or something. Like, he wanted to put that into this film, and the whole film was kind of constructed around it, really.
Right.
Or that was his only idea, because I know it's a book. It's, you know, like, for ages, these, like, what do they call them? Is it airport thrillers were coming out, and they're all called, like, The Girl in the Something or The Woman in the Something, like
Girl on the
like
Train.
Gone Girl and The Girl on the Train and all stuff like that. Yeah. The Woman in the Window is just another one of those at the same time. And I heard the book was crap anyway. And the film, the film has like half completed ideas, like almost to a point when I think it got hacked apart because they thought it was too confusing. And there's stuff in it that it's almost like scenes that get chopped in half or finish early and stuff like that. There's whole plot elements that I've now read up but that are cut out of the film and things. It's crap. It's so crap. Like, and it's such an easy idea to do, but like they give Amy Adams nothing to make her like character like appealing or sympathetic or for you to kind of understand her or like her or anything, because the whole point is she's meant to have agoraphobia. But they have no connection for her. She's just a kind of horrible person, really, who you don't really like.
I wonder what drew her to it then, because she's normally she normally picks roles, you know, she picks good roles normally.
Well, yes, 6-time Academy nominated.
Exactly,
Amy
yeah.
Adams has never won. I can see this on paper being like her seeing this as a female-led film, strong character. It's kind of a complicated character, Hitchcock pastiche. You know, it's part of that kind of, you know, thriller kind of elements. It's normally a type of film that gets an acting nom, I think. I can see her thinking that on the script, but just the way it comes off, it doesn't fucking work at all. Like, and it's just
imagine Netflix as a decent paycheck as well.
Yeah,
So
well, it wasn't. It was bought by Netflix, wasn't it?
Was it?
It's another one of those films that was like, I don't understand why this film didn't get released in the height of lockdown, because it's about a woman with agoraphobia who can't go outside. Like, and this film got completed in 2019. It got bought by Netflix in like early 2020, like April 2020 or something like that. I can't remember the dates. And they just sat on it and released it like now at the end of lockdown. And it just seems really like the decision for that is either like they weren't pushing for noms because it's a weird time to release a film, but it's probably because they had no faith in it. They saw it, frankly, and just didn't have any faith in releasing it. They weren't holding off the cinema or anything like that. So I don't know.
Unlike the Cloverfield one, where they bought it and then released it that afternoon, it seemed.
Yeah.
Oh, was that the third one?
Yeah,
The
the
Paradox
Cloverfield
film.
Paradox.
Yeah, that film was. God,
Apparently,
yeah.
they're doing another one now that's an actual sequel to the first one.
Good.
So I don't know.
Fine. But I guess as James is here as well, I've been catching up with my Godzilla. So
Nice.
I'm currently I last watched. So which ones did I just watch? I just watched All Monsters Attack and Godzilla versus Hedorah.
Nice.
All Monsters Attack is so weird.
Yeah.
I don't even know why it's called that.
They just seem to. It's basically monster Mad Libs by the point you get to the 70s.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, that's the bullied kid one, isn't it?
It is,
Basically
yeah.
the clip show from the previous ones. Yeah,
And
it's a weird film.
It's kind of sweet though. I didn't hate
Yeah,
it.
it did. It's got a kind of personality to it.
Yeah, totally. And in terms of Godzilla films, it's one of the most coherent in the kind of the way the two elements of Godzilla films always kind of crash with each other. So you always have the kind of human story and then the Godzilla story, and sometimes they kind of don't really play together. Like quite often the human story just goes away when Godzilla turns up. But this one had a bit more of a see-through. I mean, not see-through, a bit more of a path. It was and kind of sweet at the end. It's not good, but I kind of enjoyed watching it, if I'm honest. And Godzilla vs. Hedorah, I'm a bit undecided on. That's
just wacky. Like
yeah,
trippy 70s
Yeah.
like trip movie.
It's
Lots
so
of
weird.
psychedelic imagery.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And I didn't think the Godzilla films were going to be so like Bondy, like Bondish, like,
Yeah, they do kind of drift into it occasionally.
and a lot of kind of surfery kind of like 60s music and 70s music and stuff. And
Yeah, there's the guy who kind of takes over because Ishiro Honda was kind of leading the series through the 60s, directing it, and then
Yeah.
in the 70s, this guy John Fukuda, I think his name is.
John something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he kind of took it in a more campy direction and brought in the kind of surf guitar scores and things like that.
Right.
And yeah, Hedora is the most extreme example of that. They kind of, the studio looked at it and went, "Well, we're not doing that again," and they kind of turned
Yeah.
it back for the next few.
It definitely feels like an attempt to kind of grab the kind of seriousness of the first film as well. Like after like the slow progression of watching all the kind of like Godzillas, and especially because Ishiro seems so comfortable with just making a Godzilla film, he just seems to be able to do it without thinking. And this one seems to have gone like a bit too out there to do something that says something, and all the pollution stuff and things. It's just a little too. It's too heavy-handed, along with the kind of weird, trippy, out there stuff along with it, and it was a
Isn't
little.
this the one where Godzilla flies as well?
I know Hedorah flies. I can't remember Godzilla flying, but that might have
He
happened.
he like turns around, uses his fire breath to kind of project himself across the sky.
Sure, why not?
Yeah, that's one of the lowlights of the franchise for me. Some people love it, and I'm just like, that's stupid. In this franchise of incredibly stupid things, that's the stupidest thing.
It didn't sit with me, Hedorah, that much, I have to say. So I'm looking forward to watching the remaining few. I don't know if I'll go on to watch anything past the Showa, but my goal is to at least watch all the Showa films. So I've got about, was it 4 left, I think?
Yes, something like that. The last one is Terror of Mechagodzilla, and that's 75.
So I can't have that many left because Hedorah is like 71. Unless they can't make that many.
Well, you'd think.
But it's been fun. I've really enjoyed the Godzilla films. I've really enjoyed putting them on. They're very easy to watch, and they're not what I thought they were. Like Godzilla's son is the weirdest character I've ever been introduced. And every time he turns, I'm like, I didn't know this character existed. How did I not know this was like a real character that shows up in multiple films?
Yeah, that's another thing. I forgot about him. I was too focused on the flying Godzilla.
Minora, or whatever his name is.
Yeah,
Manila.
Manila.
Like a donkey.
I hate him so much.
He looks so weird as well.
They bring him back in the 80s and 90s series, and they initially make him more realistic, like a baby version of Godzilla.
Yeah, instead of like a human baby with a tail.
And then in the next one, they completely disregard that and make him the cartoony, like 60s version again. And then in the next film, he's back to being slightly more realistic. They don't know what the fuck they're doing with it, basically.
Oh, you're making me want to keep watching them, I have to say.
The 80s and 90s ones are my favourites.
Okay.
But they do get more convoluted with the plots.
Sure.
At least watch Godzilla versus King Ghidorah, which I think is the 91 version, because that's just insane.
Okay. Maybe I'll get there. We'll see what I'm doing. But they're good, and I love quite a lot of things about it. They're good. They're fun films. And Ollie, you need to catch up.
I know, but James is glad he sent me that USB stick with the films on, because I've watched none of them.
I spent money on that USB stick.
Yeah, well, you're a cunt.
So what have you been watching then, Ollie?
Well, not as much as last week, because I got Resident Evil 8 on the PlayStation, so I've been blasting my way through that. It's super silly and super camp and a lot of fun. But film-wise, what have I watched? I watched Spike Lee's Clockers. Oh,
I love Clockers. I watched that recently. Yeah.
No, it's a very good film. I think it's a little bit dated in some respects. Like some of the music cues are a bit cheese, and
okay.
And I think Like, I think the performances are great. You know, great cast. You know, you've got Keith David in it there as well. You got is it Mickey? I can't pronounce his name. Mickey Pfeiffer.
McHife, yeah.
Yeah, he was in like
yeah.
he was in ER and stuff like that. He's he's the lead. He's really good. You've got
Thomas Jefferson Bird and Delroy Lindo.
Harvey Keitel.
Harvey Keitel, yeah.
You've got
John
Turturro, who's it's pre Turturro having like, because now he's just like a bug eye actor now. If you watch him, he's like "Boo." Like I think Transformers ruined him.
Well,
and
I think they bought him a lot of houses as well.
Probably, yeah. But like I used to like early performances by him are great, like Barton Fink and stuff like that.
Sure. Barton Fink is after the clock.
No,
it's not. It's before. No, it's not. Yeah.
But like the only issue I had with the film really was I didn't think it set the It took me a while to get up to speed with the film because like spoil. I mean, it's like a 25-year-old film at this point, but but basically it's about a bunch of clockers or kids who like sell drugs on the street for like a kind of like the bigger heavy kind of.
Yeah, it's written by the guy who wrote The Wire.
Yeah.
So if you've watched The Wire, basically Clockers is like a pre-version of The Wire with Spike Lee's direction.
Basically,
really.
yeah. Originally, it was meant to be directed by Martin Scorsese. I think he's a producer on it, or at least just in name only. But
yeah, I think that makes sense.
But yeah, it's really good. But like as I said, like I think it took me a while to get to speed with it because like you're introduced to his brother, and then straight away he's like basically Mekhi Phifer's character's like he's been told he's got to kill this kind of guy. Obviously, he doesn't want to do it, so he goes to his brother, and his brother's meant to be like quite good natured, and he's kind of respectable and stuff like that. And he tries to convince his brother to do it. And it just felt a bit odd to me. And he just like at least let me know who this character is first before you kind of get into all that and stuff. But I thought it was really good, and I liked his train set, kind of his hobby that he loved trains. I thought that was a nice little quirk and stuff like that. And then how it's about grooming, like he got groomed, and then he started to groom that other kid, and then he kind of clocked on and realised what he was doing, and kind of wanted to change his ways a bit.
Clockers is the one with Spike Lee's fake video game, isn't it?
Oh, I forgot about that. He's got like a weird. He's got
a weird like Virtual Boy thing.
Well, he's got a Sega Saturn or something around his. Or is it the Nomad or something like that? He's got one of those consoles around his waist, and he's got a VR headset on.
Yeah,
and it's like he's playing this weird gangster game that looks terrible.
It looks terrible. It's like GTA, but it's just like heightened. Yeah, but it doesn't look good. But I mean, it's just pretending to be what people think GTA is.
And you've got Spike Lee in it, who kind of, I guess he's only in at the beginning and the end, but he's kind of almost like the audience, kind of like watching in on it, kind of.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And the main character's kind of got like a stomach issue, and I don't know if he's meant to be like lactose intolerant or something, but he's constantly drinking like milkshake. But he's got like really bad stomach.
Oh yeah, because that's part of the plot, isn't it? Actually. Yeah. That's true. My Spike Lee this week was Mo Better Blues, by the way.
Oh yeah,
which I loved. Like again, I just put on these Spike Lee films and go, wow, that's a really good film made by a really competent filmmaker who and I didn't even know what Mo Better Blues was about. I didn't know it was about jazz. I didn't know Spike Lee was in it. I didn't know Denzel Washington was in it. I didn't know Wesley Snipes was in it. I didn't know what's his name from Breaking Bad's in it. Giancarlo Esposito. What's he playing Breaking Bad? The chicken guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you watch it go, oh my god, he's been making these like really just solid like films full of like amazing cast since forever. Like
Delroy Lindo's amazing in this film. Like
the
way he kind of acts around the main character, like how he calls him his son, or like I've got these real kids, but you're my real son and stuff like that, and like how he grooms him, and then when he turns on him and stuff like that, so good.
He's terrifying when he turns in that. And when the police come to get him in the shop.
Oh, because I don't know what quite he has. It's like a barber's shop, but it also sells food. I don't know. It's a strange shop.
I don't know if like that's what a bodega is or something.
Yeah, I guess so. Just a bit of everything.
Yeah, just serves the kind of corner of the city.
Also, they live in Nelson Mandela House, which I think is the same name as Only Fools and Horses. What else did I watch? I watched Ace Ventura, which I haven't seen in about. I can't even remember when the last time I watched that was. And,
First one or the second one?
First one.
Yeah.
Like Jim Carrey is amazing in that film, but there's no getting past how bad the ending is now. Like how it comes across.
Yeah.
Like I think me and Liam differ a little bit on how it plays out. Like in my head, the reason why the main character transitions is just to kind of get revenge. This is what I thought, and then like he killed the woman to kind of take her identity. But I don't know. Either way, it's still bad. But you know,
It's been so long since I've seen the first one, I can't remember how the plot unfolds.
But Jim Carrey is amazing in it. He's so good. Like he's such a well-formed character. I think he is really good in it. But like I said, that ending is just like. Oof. I forgot. To be honest, I kind of forgot that's what happened. I was like, oh God.
I was watching Poetic Justice the other day, John Singleton film.
Oh yeah.
And there's a character in it, Tone Loc is in it really briefly.
Oh, from the rapper.
Yeah, the rapper. And I was listening to him and his voice is so unique and it's so identifiable. And I was like,
oh yeah,
what is that voice? Why do I know that voice? And I couldn't place it. I just couldn't place his face, couldn't place him whatsoever. And then I was just like, it's fucking Ace Ventura. Yeah. And there he is. Yeah. And his voice is it's one of the best voices in Hollywood, and this amazing kind of gravelly voice.
Like when you hear him sing like Wild Thing, he just sounds like himself. Do you know what I mean? Wild Thing. I think he does an Ace Ventura rap as well.
He does.
Yeah.
Definitely over the credits. Yeah.
What else did I watch? Oh, because it was Star Wars Day a week or so ago. I got the 4K editions of all the Star Wars films, so I started on Phantom Menace the other day in 4K.
Okay.
The effects in that film, oof.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like because they couldn't nail textures in though, like back in the late 90s or whatever. Everything is just wrinkly. It's really bizarre. That's their get out clause of like making things look real. Is just make things look wrinkly. Like I think the actual character designs look cool. Like Sebulba looks wicked. He's like a horrible little nasty little thing. And Watto, even aside from the whole, the fact that he's like a Jewish stereotype, he actually looks good as a character, but a lot of the compositing is a bit iffy in the places and stuff like that. And to be fair, it is an early CGI heavy film. But
I remember who Sebulba is.
Sebulba's
the name, but
he's one of the pod racers. He's like Anakin's like arch nemesis pod racer, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
He kind of walks. He walks. No, he's only got.
Yeah, I remember the multiple legs element now. Yeah.
No, he walks on his hands and he uses his legs as arms.
Right. Okay.
So he's still got the same amount as we have, but he just uses in different ways.
And my favorite kind of thing about the prequels really is the fact that this madmen basically dragged them into making digital filmmaking when the technology wasn't there at all. And they didn't even have like tennis balls on sticks when they were making it. That when they were doing the first one, they were so blind about how to kind of do this digital technology and stuff that I just find that really fascinating and kind of cool. Like
if you
they were learning as they were going, how light works and how to do it and things.
Well, like Ewan McGregor, like whenever he's looking at Jar Jar Binks, he's like looking either too high or to the left too much, and it's never quite matching. But
never quite goes. Why don't we get an eye line for this character?
But Liam Neeson is awesome in that film. He's so good.
It's the best one of the first films.
I don't know.
would stand by that.
I want to rewatch the others. But the thing that annoys me the most is it's the only one that was shot on film. I think it was shot on 35mm. But because every single shot is an effect shot, I think it was all rendered at like 1K, so 1080p. So it'll never look any better than that.
Yeah.
And then the next two are actually shot at 1080p. So like when you upscale it to 4K, it just doesn't look that great. There's a lot of weird artifacts,
that's the thing,
because they're obviously trying to sharpen it or denoise it or smooth it, and it just looks a bit odd. So
that's the thing with a lot of blockbusters, like all these big budget films, all of their effects are like rendered at like 2K. So even the 4K releases of something that came out last year aren't technically at 4K.
Well, like even back when they did films optically, they like for the old Star Wars films, they'll do their effect shots. Optically? Well, so they'd do it like physically by hand. Do you know what I mean? Like with an actual machine. It's almost like After Effects, but a physical machine where you can do overlays and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But they do all the effects in 70mm. So when they scale it down, it goes back to 35, which is what the main film shot at. So actually, it's probably like they've probably, the way they've done all the special editions now, they've fucked it up. But if they went back to the original versions of the 35mm prints, it would actually look a lot better than any of the prequels, and probably the new. Actually, I think the new films were shot on film, and I'm guessing they probably rendered those effects out of 4K, and we're probably boring everyone now. But anyway,
no, I think it's our target audience. I think it's my favorite thing. It's one of my least favorite things about the special editions. Actually, is the fact that those CGI stuff that he puts in and things look so bad.
Yeah.
Like now, like they've aged worse than just watching the originals, you know, and the original special effects.
He keeps redoing the Jabba, doesn't he?
God.
In the first film.
Oh yeah, he redid that a few times, and I think like in the Phantom Menace that I watched yesterday, Yoda is no longer a puppet. Yoda is now CGI because that puppet was
good.
What was I going to say?
I hate Yoda in those prequels. Yoda is the worst character in those prequels. If you watched them in like order from prequels all the way to the end, you'd be like not happy to see Yoda. You'd be like, why is the villain of the film like in the film now? So he's such a dick in those first three films.
But like, I kind of like the fact that it's such a slow film. Like the pacing is just like it's so laborious. I don't know. There's a lot of nothing happening, but at the same time, I kind of like it in a weird way. I don't know.
I think
I don't know if we got.
It's why I give Phantom Menace it's the best one out of them, because it's the one that like I think is paced to something and kind of and just structured without like a fear. Like you feel the fear of like fan backlash in the other two, and you feel him like worrying about people kind of.
This one's a bit more. It's pre any of that, so it's a bit more honest. I don't know, honest, but like also I think my nostalgia for it. Like I remember us going to the cinema like opening day, and we'd have those magazines that you get at the foyer that tell you all the new films, and we were like rolling them up and doing lightsaber fights, and people were like telling us to fucking sit down and shut up.
I had all my comm chips.
Yeah. And then finally, I watched the film that you picked for me to watch last week.
Yeah.
And I watched Eraserhead. And I absolutely loved Eraserhead.
Of course.
It's so good. Like, it looks amazing. And, like, I've never seen it. It's like an art film, really, isn't it? Like, it's just totally bonkers. And it's a film that you can't... I don't think you can really critique it. It's not like a film saying, well, this part's good, this part's bad. It's either kind of like you like it or you don't, I think. Because everything's so specific. You can't say... It's not like you can pick it apart plot-wise or performance-wise. Because it's so... Everything's just so specific. But...
I always think of it as a film of visuals, I guess.
Yeah. Like, you know, it starts off with like... almost like an asteroid planty thing where there's like a cardboard, like almost rocket kind of thing where this man lives that's pulling gears, and then you've the whole film. I'm guessing really it's kind of about a young couple who are experiencing like they've had a baby, like, and it's been born prematurely, and I think that's kind of what it is, kind of when you boil it down.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
And then obviously he then becomes a single parent, and there's a bit of infidelity in there and stuff like that. But then there's all like, you know, I only watched it today, so I haven't really processed it all properly. But
sure.
Like, you know, he's in his like apartment. He's kind of got like, it's like manure under his radiator. He's got manure piled up on top of his cabinets. There's, you know, his chest of drawers. You know, in people's houses, they've just got random pipes sticking out, and you know, there's a woman who kind of lives behind the radiator, and she sings a song in it, which I love. Actually, I love that song that she sang. And the guy's kind of got this crazy, wild, like almost like he's been electrocuted. Like the whole way through the film, it's got this weird, like humming, like almost like an electrical hum kind of thing. So it's kind of like it's charging his hair and stuff, and I don't know, he's kind of got like a baby face, and I don't know. I just loved it. I thought it was fantastic, and it's like just bizarre, but in all the best possible ways.
Yeah, it's the type of film like, how do I say this? I think people think it's easy to make kind of visually shocking films or like loose narrative kind of cinema.
Oh no, this is definitely very thought out.
Yeah, because Lynch is an expert, like, and that's why it's really good. It's not really good because it's easy to be kind of, off the wall or something.
But do you know what? I didn't find it pretentious though.
No, I don't think so either.
No, I just have you seen it, Jim?
No.
I really recommend it. It's good.
The only Lynch film I've seen is Mulholland Drive.
Right.
Wasn't a fan of that.
No, well, that was originally like a TV series, wasn't it? That you kind of retrofitted to be a film. But
I didn't know that.
But this has got so many things I love. It's kind of got stop motion effects in it. It's got like practical, like because the baby in it does not look like a baby. It's kind of this weird kind of. But at the end, it kind of mutates and becomes this giant head that's kind of keep popping around everywhere. It's awesome. I loved it.
You'll be very unsurprised to learn that Lynch was offered this film that we're doing today.
No, I'm not surprised. So just before we get onto that, so James, you've got a number 1 to 174 to pick, and then I'll watch that film for next week. Just for anyone who might be new to listening to this, I've got a list of Blu-rays and DVDs that I haven't watched, so I've kind of compiled them all into a big document, and it's all numbered. And so Liam picked like number 52 last week, and that was Eraserhead. So James, 1 to 174, go for it.
168.
Oh, I'm not watching that. It's Winnie the Pooh.
I insist that you watch that.
All right, I'll watch Winnie the Pooh.
Which Winnie the Pooh?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a Disney DVD I've got. It's Winnie the Pooh. It's numbered. It's one of their numbered ones, so it's got to be a feature film or something. I don't know.
Oh, I've seen that one. Definitely.
I'll watch that.
Eraserhead to Winnie the Pooh.
Winnie the Pooh.
It's not the 2011 Winnie the Pooh then.
No, it's like from the 70s.
Yeah. Okay. That'd be the Winnie the Pooh I watched 4,000 times as a kid. Then I had on VHS and watched it constantly.
Right then.
Well, Eraserhead to Winnie the Pooh. I think that makes sense. I think that's a good pick.
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
I am not. But I did buy it, so, I bought it for a reason. Do you know why I bought it, though? After I did the Prodigy video, I kind of went into a bit of a slump because you kind of have this massive high of doing the biggest projects you've ever done in your life. And you think, I need to fill my time with doing something now. And they released all the Disney films in these special edition cases, and they were like really hard to get. So I just spent all my time tracking them down. That's what I did
just to get all the numbers on your shelf.
Yep.
You were Jason Mewes looking for Star Wars figures.
Pretty much, yeah. I was just thinking that. Although I'm not a heroin addict, so it's a bit different.
Uh-huh. I'm just checking if Winnie the Pooh's on Disney Plus.
See, I'm not sure if it's actually a film. I don't know if it's like a mixture of like several shorts or something put together.
I don't know which one of these it could be, because it's not Pooh's Heffalump movie.
No.
Sure, it's not a 2011 one.
Hang on, let me have a look.
Oh, is it The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh?
Probably. I don't know.
1977.
Yeah, that'll be the one.
Oh, fantastic. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. Shall we get on to today's topic?
Let's go on to it.
Right, so today we're discussing Ken Russell's Altered States.
In the basement of one of the country's leading medical schools, Dr. Edward Jessup, candidate for a Nobel Prize, is conducting the most dangerous experiment in the history of science. And the subject of the experiment is himself.
Ask him what kind of an experience I can expect. deafening. The noise is deafening.
He's blacked out.
What happens during these blackout periods is you get the feeling of phenomenal acceleration, like you're being shot out over millions, billions of years. Time simply obliterates.
You guys are shooting off with an untested drug that stacks up in the brain and works to the nucleus of the cell, and you don't call that dangerous.
I'm asking you to put the experiment off until we understand a little more in order to minimize the risk.
Way.
I'm really frightened. We could be screwing around with his whole genetic structure. Now, how do we stop this?
We've got millions of years stored away in that computer bank we call our minds. We have got trillions of dormant genes in us, our whole evolutionary past. Perhaps I've tapped into that.
He may be on to something that is beyond our own comprehension. Now, because I believe him, I want this thing stopped.
The hell was that? You okay?
If you love me, Eddie, get fired!
Altered States.
So this film is about kind of a bunch of research scientists who are obsessed with like hallucinogenic drugs and their experiments with isolation tanks. And William Hurt's kind of regression into kind of a more primordial state.
He seems to be the one kind of cheerleading and spearheading the project. Everyone else seems to be kind of just backing him up out of loyalty or something. They don't seem to be as into it as he does. I
am. Yeah, I could talk about Bob Balaban for ages in this. I loved Bob Balaban in this.
He's great in everything.
Well, yeah, even more recently, like he's been in like Wes Anderson films and that. Like he was the narrator, wasn't he? And
he's in a lot of Chris Guest films as well.
Yeah,
he is. Yeah, he's in The Lady in the Water, my favourite film. Which I seem to bring up constantly. I loved how like his character, as you say, just was not into it. So he's just like, yeah, whatever, I'll record you. I'll record some notes. So and he spoke to me as the only kind of character in this film that felt like an actual academic. Like when the others didn't feel like academics to me at all. Bob Balaban was like, that's what every academic's actually like.
Well, look at his beard, his hair, his glasses, just his whole demeanour, smoking a spliff every now and again. Or
yeah, casually with a cardigan, smoking a spliff, going to parties, being a bit relaxed and, publishing rarely, just wanting to get some money to keep on the board. Like it was just like, yeah, that's the actual academic life, not like William Hurt's like obsession with whatever he's obsessed with in this film.
Yeah, I really couldn't get on board with William Hurt as a character.
No, I hated him.
He's just... I've never found William Hurt especially likeable person. You kind of...
good... obviously, this was his first film. He was the first thing he's ever cast as. Yeah, like we'll talk about the history of the film a little bit, but yeah, this was the first time he was ever cast in.
Because I know Ken Russell didn't cast him, did he? It was the original.
No. Peter Petrie Petrie did. We'll get into it. Yeah, but like William Hurt's. I love William Hurt in Broadcast News. I think that's my favourite William Hurt performance. He's really, really, really good in Broadcast News and really kind of likeable, actually. But since then, I don't know. Is there anything else I like him in, really?
Thunderbolt Ross, maybe? He was in History of Violence, yeah, that was good.
Yeah, which is a Cronenberg film, which I think, Cronenberg's obviously echoed in this film a lot. Or at least kind of body horror in his later stuff. But, yeah, I don't know. William Hurt's an odd guy. He's obviously like really recognisable name in Hollywood, but I never really think of him.
He was in
like...
AI as well.
It was in AI.
Oh, and Dark City. To be fair, I do love Dark City.
Dark City's good. Dark City's very good. I forgot he's Thunderbolt Ross. He's going to be in Black Widow as well. The film that I don't care about.
We're losing James. We're losing James.
Yeah. So the kind of history of this film is bizarre, really. It all kind of starts with this writer who his name I find difficult to pronounce, but it's Paddy Chayefsky.
Chayefsky, right?
Yeah.
Chayefsky, yeah.
Chayefsky, who's a 3 Oscar winning writer. You know, he did Marty, he did Network, like a giant in kind of screenwriting. He was thinking back to his like time in the war, time in like World War II, and he was kind of musing on the fact that enjoying World War II, he felt like this kind of little nerdy Jewish guy who was his actual name, who I can't remember his actual name, kind of morphed into this character of like Paddy Chayefsky, say it. Like, and he, like, the war kind of changed him as a human, changed him as a person, really. And he wanted to kind of write an autobiographical kind of tale about how like a person changes through like experiences. So over lunch one day with in the Russian tea rooms with Bob Fosse and Herb Gardner, he was telling them about this, and they thought it was a fantastic idea and kind of taking the piss out of him as well, actually. So he said, "Why don't you just write Robert Louis Stevenson's like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, write a new adaptation of it?" So he was like, "Yeah, okay, I'll go do that." And he went home and wrote a treatment for it. But the treatment that came out was called Altered States, because he'd started reading about these experiments of a professor in the kind of 70s called John C. Lilly. John C. Lilly did tons of experiments with sensory deprivation and isolation tanks and hallucinogenic drugs and like ketamine and mescaline and LSD to kind of see what it did to kind of people. He was also the guy who set up, is it SETI, the Search for Alien Life, as well?
Okay.
And he did a ton of weird stuff with dolphins, which you might want to look up, but it gets very odd. It gets very odd indeed.
Yeah, didn't it inspire Day of the Dolphin?
I think it did inspire Day of the Dolphin. Yeah, I think so. That weird film where they try and kill the president with the dolphin. Is that film?
I believe so.
He did a lot of sexual experiments with dolphins, I think, as well. I think that's
what?
Lily. Yeah. But yeah, and then he did a lot of stuff about psychedelic drugs, basically. So he started reading his experiments, and Paddy decided he could put that into his script and kind of merge it all in. And the script that came out was called Altered States. They were looking for kind of, you know, someone to take this script on, someone to make it, and it had considerable interest. Like, this guy's a huge screenwriter. He's a 3-time Oscar-winning screenwriter, but they told him not to publish as a screenwriting, because everyone was reading the script and going, "Well, how do you film this?" basically. So he decided to turn it into a book, and instead, like, wrote it as a book and released it as a book first. The book was a huge success. It was giant, and at that point, everyone was trying to fight to make this film. The problem is, like, the problem was the fact that, like, really Paddy has so much control over everything, really. He's such a powerful kind of force as a writer, really, which is not normal in films, really, for the writer to be so powerful. So the original director is Arthur Penn, and he's the one who casts the film. He gets William Hurt into it, he gets Blair Brown into it, and he starts filming in 1978. However, in 1978, him and Paddy fall out, and Penn resigns and gets fired, basically. And so that was like, I think, like 6 months into it or something like that. And Paddy,
I don't think they started filming. It was to begin. I don't think they actually started filming, because
that might be right.
Once the film's in motion, they generally don't stop.
It's hard to pull the plug on it.
Yeah.
At that point, like, they started looking around for another actor, and this is a quote from Ken Russell. He says the film was offered to 27 people before it got to him. So it went through. This is the list that Ken Russell claims. It goes Spielberg, Kubrick, Sidney Pollack, Robert Wise, Orson Welles, Martin Scorsese, Fred Zimmerman, Woody Allen, Ingmar Bergman, Brian De Palma, Bertolini, Borman, Tarkovsky, Erwin Kershner, Francis Ford Coppola, Roman Polanski, Dick Lesnar, Michael Winner, Sidney Lumet, Dick Donner, George Lucas, Rogue, Scheisingler, Truffaut, Zeffirelli, Brian Forbes, and then it got offered to Ken Russell, and he took it on. Ken Russell himself was in a very weird place in his life at that point as well, really. Like Ken Russell, to me, like, being British, is kind of one of the icons of like British cinema, even though like his films were never that big. He's just like a really kind of strong voice. Like, What about you guys? Like with
Well-
Ken Russell, what's your history with him?
Well, I'm a big fan of Tommy, and I remember I was at a Comic-Con with you, and I was like, "Oh, Tommy on Blu-ray," and the first thing that you went to me was, "I don't like Tommy." Typical Liam.
I don't like Tommy. I don't like.
Yeah, but I like the Who. Well, I like the latter era of the Who as opposed to like their more mod stuff. But
I don't know who well enough to comment.
But no, I like that film. I think that film's really inventive and fun. But I really don't know much of his other work. I know he was on Big Brother, and everyone was like, "Who are you?" And he's like, "I'm Ken Russell. I'm a filmmaker." And he was like, "This was like in the latter stages of his life because he died like nearly 10 years ago. I think he died nearly 10 years ago, and he was on like Big Brother in like 2007 or something like that."
No way. He died in like 2011. I do not remember him in Big Brother.
I don't think he lasted the whole time, I don't think. But I remember like turning, I was like, what the fuck's Ken Russell doing?
Ken Russell joined Celebrity Big Brother in January 2007 at the start of the series, but left within a week after an altercation with Jade Goody. As if that's on Ken Russell's biography. I mean, I think what's crazy about Ken Russell is that he's a BBC filmmaker. Like he's known as, like he was hired and like promoted by the BBC, but like his earlier films, stuff like Woman in Love and The Devils and stuff like that, were incredibly like controversial films, like full frontal nudity and kind of like psychedelic kind of like imagery and like, you know, imagery is about death. And most of his films, he's obsessed with Christianity, like, and his Catholic upbringing and Christian upbringing, I should say, maybe not Catholic, but like, and he's obsessed with that kind of interplay between what sex and Catholic Christianity has and what effects it has on like people. So tons of his films, The Devil's about that, like Woman in Love has that kind of arc through it. He's a guy who made like art. He took like operas and art films and paintings and made films about them. Like I think one of the films after like Altered States, he made the film about the planets, based on like Holster planets and stuff.
Okay.
He's interesting in a way that I think he's a British filmmaker he's not just making working class dramas. Do you know what I mean?
He's this is the first Ken Russell film I've seen, although I've been aware of him like with The Devils and Women in Love and that kind of thing. But I kind of knew of him more as a personality, like on TV. Like he was always a talking head on things. He kind of like Michael Winner, who kind of stopped making films and just full time decided to make TV shows and write columns and things like that. That's how I always saw Ken Russell, because they kind of looked alike as well. These older, chubby guys with massive white hair.
I'd say one's got more talent than the other, though.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Having seen only a couple, I've seen Death Wish and I've seen Altered States, and I know which one I prefer. But yeah, he always seemed like more of a cheeky character than Michael Winner did.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
He's got an element of playfulness to his stuff, even
definitely.
though it is controversial.
Yeah,
Like, he thinks he's in on the joke.
yeah, absolutely. And I think that's because what this film is kind of famous for, really, is the fact that Ken Russell and Paddy Chayefsky, I don't know how to say that name, fell out on set massively, and Paddy ended up taking his name off the script, so off the film. So it's actually screenplay is credited as his birth name, which is Sidney Aaron, I think, because they just couldn't work together on set at all. And like he was claiming like Ken Russell was changing the dialogue and not kind of being true to the kind of script and things, whereas Ken Russell was like, you hired me as a director, I'm in charge. Like, you can't be the second director on set. You can't be moaning about shots I'm setting up. You can't be like over my shoulder yelling at me about stuff. And he claims that he shot every single word that's in that script. He didn't change a thing. But the problem was that, like, whereas like this huge verbose script, and it was my biggest problem with the film, was the script and the lines these characters have to say and the things people have to say out loud is so difficult. That Ken Russell just got them to kind of machine gun it, basically, like just throw it out there in between bites of a sandwich, or chuck it out there kind of as quick as you can.
Well, I had to put subtitles on a bit now and again because, like,
Sure.
so there's one bit where like they're looking at X-rays, and they show it to the one guy, and I was like, "What the fuck's he saying?" Because he's obviously eating a sandwich at the same time, and I don't know if he's like got a German accent or something, but I was like, I can't hear what he's saying, so I had to put it on, and I found out he said gorilla, and I was like, gorilla, okay,
Yeah.
and then
He's
like
a fucking gorilla.
you know, and like if I didn't put that on, I would have been oblivious to that, and then it would have thrown me even more later on when.
I think
that's the only way you could do this, though, because if you stop to think about any of the plot
and
the logic of any of it, it instantly falls apart. So you've got to machine gun through it, so you just get what you need to get through the story.
Yeah,
you don't
absolutely.
have to think about it.
But I think because like he kind of he doesn't do like Ken Russell takes this really seriously. Like it's not a campy film really at all. It's not mocking or anything like that. It's not really that horror-y, really. I mean, it has body horror in it, but it's not kind of shot like a horror film in my so much. Like,
well, it has all those great like bladder shots where they've kind of got all the prosthetics within the arm and the leg and stuff.
Yeah, all that stuff. Yeah.
I do
think within the kind of trippy hallucination sequences, though, really for the most part, and it's not really. I was expecting something more Cronenbergian.
Me too.
With the more like The Fly meets Scanners, something like that.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking more like what the fuck's the film called? Stuart Gordon.
From Beyond.
From Beyond, yeah. I was thinking it'd be more like that. Like if
I saw an alternate poster that looked very From Beyond.
Like, is that the one with the three eyes and stuff on the?
The resonator machine and
like if my biggest criticism of this film was, for me, it didn't go weird enough. I think for me.
I mean, he did turn into a primordial kind of fetus.
Yeah, but I was thinking, like, yeah, but I know that, but it's still, like you were saying, it's grounded, kind of, and I wish it, like, at the end, it kind of, I was expecting it to go weirder. That's my biggest complaint.
My biggest problem with the film, and kind of why I didn't connect to it really, was like the two leads, not their performance, the characters. So it's William Hurt and Blair Brown, and the script's kind of about like, the problem is it's about everything. It's one of those scripts that's like the writer put every thought he had into it, but it's kind of about how like humanity's Faustian deal with God can be conquered by love, is kind of the end kind of message. But like, I don't believe these two have any love. Like, I don't believe in their relationship.
It's only because you're told it, because like when they fall in love, she says, we're going to get married now. And he goes, well, if that's what you want. And then it cuts to straight away. It's like a hard cut. And then we're getting a divorce. And it's like, well, hang on.
I couldn't believe that. Yeah. Like, literally, they'd met 2 seconds. They have sex. And then, like, honestly, never marry a guy that starts yelling about Christ during sex, like, and God.
One of the most horrifying lines in it is when she describes having sex with him. And what does she say? It's like being impaled.
Yes, I've got it written down. I feel like I'm being harpooned by some raging monk in the act of receiving God.
Yeah, and then she's like, well, I kind of like it.
Yeah, will you marry me? Was the line after that. Like,
yeah.
It's insane.
Harpooned.
And then the next time you see them, they're getting a divorce. It's like they've had a kid. It's like 4 years later, and then they're getting
not even a dissolve. Just like you say, a hard cut.
I like how Bob Balaban's wife seems to be always pregnant. Like, maybe she was just pregnant in real life. I don't know. Let's go around it, but like
Bob Balaban's wife is one of the characters in this who felt real again.
Oh yeah, those two are the only ones. Like the other guy, the other doctor guy, he just seemed very like he was back and forth so much.
I really liked him.
I did like him, but he was like constantly flip flopping.
Yeah, he made so much of the film for me. It's Charles Hayde who made me laugh when I went to Wikipedia, because his profile picture is a picture of him striking at the 2007 Writers Guild strike. He's got a sign and everything. But he was on Hill Street Blues, is what he's most famous for. And I loved him in this film. I loved how angry he was. I loved how upset he was.
Just right out of the gate, everything was just took him to 11 in terms of anger.
Just yelling at them all the time. Like,
I'm the head of this department, and I'm not taking any more of your freaking mumbo jumbo bullshit.
yeah. He was like the kind of angry police chief. In
Yeah,
like
I was
kind
just
of
going to say,
80s
he was like the sheriff in Live and Let Die.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you're taking drugs, hallucinating, whatever, just shut up. Like, and just, like, stop talking crap. I just loved him. I loved so much of this film apart from William Hurt's character. And I just couldn't buy into their relationship. Like, and I understand, I guess, like, and then when she comes back into the film after being in Africa for I don't know how long, the time recording in this film is confusing to me. I don't know how long it's meant to take place for, really.
She's got like her jungle trekking gear on there.
That's what I was going to say. She's back in the apartment wearing a like savannah gear with a long socks. And it's like when people come back from the Middle East and wear like thobes everywhere for a while. It's like you can't adjust back properly.
So she's been studying gorillas, hasn't she, or something? Or I can't. Is that right?
She's an anthropologist, but they don't really get into what she does.
Right.
There is the line early in the film where it says anthropology attracts good-looking women, apparently. She has some sort of like, she studies baboons maybe and tries to understand if baboons have like social structures like humans do. I think she's doing. I think.
Yeah, when she comes back, she says she'd seen evidence of cannibalistic behaviour in the baboons.
That's right. That's right. It's a very odd film.
I quite liked, like his chamber he's in at the beginning, the kind of phallic-looking one.
Yeah, the boiler. They describe it as a boiler, don't they?
Yeah, that felt almost like Terry Gilliam-esque kind of.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like almost like that could have been like in like a, I don't know, one of his films.
I really like that bit when it cuts to him in the kind of boiler, and you're in the tank with him, like the sound is, and you just hear his breathing and the water bubbling, and then as the camera pulls out, the sound of him and the water and the boiler kind of starts getting quieter, and the sounds of the world around him start getting louder as you come back and then go into the other room with like Bob Balaban, and you can no longer hear like the isolation tank, and you just hear like Bob Balaban, I think, eating a sandwich. Bob Balaban was mainly eating sandwiches, isn't it?
I think that's the more interesting of the isolation chambers he goes into, because the other one's just that big black, the dark one, isn't it?
That big black box.
Like this one, at least you could see him in there, and he's got like the kind of like the, the dome over his head and stuff like that. It's a bit more visually interesting.
I was quite surprised when I first saw it, because it wasn't what if someone says isolation tank to me, it wasn't what I thought an isolation tank was. So when they did introduce the one later, I was like, okay,
that's what you think. Yeah.
This is what I'm thinking. Yeah. And they have this kind of opens to this world of like liberal academics, like at the tail end, I'm guessing, of the psychedelic movement, but I'm not too sure when it's set. This film could be set in like the early 70s. I don't know. Like,
the opening scene was set in 67, I think.
Oh, okay.
There's obviously definitely a time jump because
Drew Barrymore comes into it.
I know. I was watching the film and I was like, is that Drew Barrymore?
It's like
I noticed
one of the, I think.
One of the technicians is John Larroquette, who
really,
who was the superior in Stripes to Bill Murray and Harold Ramis.
Yeah.
And also did the voiceover for Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh, did he? Oh, cool. Yeah, that's cool.
He pops up.
He was the guy, X-ray technician, it says. So he was like yelling about gorillas then?
No, he was the first one. And then after, what's his name? Mason, he throws a massive wobbler about, I'm the president of this university or whatever. Then he goes and takes it to a proper technician.
Oh, yeah, totally.
I'm going to show these to someone who can read them or something like that.
So when he's going in the chamber at first, is he actually taking any kind of...
No.
It's like nothing. He's just literally just being deprived, like... Yeah, okay.
Deprived. Yeah, it's the mushrooms are the thing. The mushrooms are the key to the whole thing.
What did they call it? Something in this? Little flower or something, did they say?
The first flower or something like that?
First flower, thank you. Yeah. that kind of stuff. I think that stuff's aged quite badly, because obviously they're kind of referencing like ayahuasca.
Do you mean when he's in the cave in Mexico?
Yeah, although I loved it. I just think the kind of I
Yeah.
did love the cave thing. I really did.
The
love
colours are amazing. It's kind of those, like proper
I love
80s,
like the shamans with the
pinks and-
clay on them and the paintings on the wall.
The visuals of like hell or whatever it is are amazing. Like
Yeah.
awesome. Like those kind of overlays. I love that kind of stuff. It's
Apparently
almost a bit
the,
music video-y as well, isn't it? Kind of.
Absolutely. Apparently, the special effects team kind of left or got fired or quit. It's not. Couldn't.
Yeah, I think there was a
quite
change
clear.
of personnel halfway through or something.
So Ken Russell kind of decided to shoot them live, the hallucinogenic sequences, rather than
Okay.
rely on special effects, basically. And I think that's to the benefit of the film. I loved how like his like idea of what hallucinogenics look like, which he does know because he says on this set he took shrooms and he had an incredibly bad trip whilst shooting this.
Did he eat a big salamander or whatever the fuck it was? What was that big thing?
Like a kimono dragon, or something, isn't it? Like, yeah. They're all shot in camera, and I think they're also bright and also vivid, and they look like paintings to me, almost like oily or kind of like watercolor paintings or something. Like
It also looked like Tron at the end, I thought.
oh yeah, with the kind of when they're flashing at the end
Yeah.
and stuff. Yeah, totally.
I
they
did
were
like that
really
though,
cool.
where he's kind of like slamming. It reminded me of another film actually, where they're kind of like slamming he keeps slamming against the wall,
Yeah,
like cross cutting. I can't remember what film it is. Anyway, I'm skipping ahead.
yeah. Ken Russell says that basically he says Paddy's hallucinations were impossible to film. He'd write a direction that says something like interstellar gas shot through 5 million miles of universe like a puff of cigarette smoke, and but when I read the script, I realized the only way that we could properly kind of create any kind of dramatic kind of experience that was actually common to people would be the way that people could react to it. And like the common experience to men isn't gas going through the universe, like, which, you know, I think is a really
I've
good
got
point.
a lot of experience with gas.
But like, yeah, as I was saying, like, it's ayahuasca now is, I just think of like psychedelics being so like, what's the word? Like, not normal, but gentrified. Like, it's kind of like you can go to any kind of yoga studio and people are doing like ayahuasca or something. Like, it's just so like just
Well, it's
so,
almost like drugs are bad.
yeah, or just it's just this idea, and like this, like there's definitely present in like the 70s that psychedelics were like the key to unlocking like some hidden kind of truth and hidden self or something, or kind of there were like a hidden superpower. You get a lot of CIA experiments with like LSD and people thinking like you can like deprogram someone or rewrite someone's brain, and none of that's really proven to be like as superpowered as all these experiments were kind of claiming it they were. They might just help depression is the big thing with LSD at the moment and stuff like. But I think so. From watching it, it's not the film's fault, but for me watching it now, going back, I find it all a little bit childish, I guess, or something. Just a little bit. Kind of,
Yeah, no, I see that. I got that definitely.
or something like that. It's hard to feel, but I was watching it going, I don't quite sink into kind of what's happening because I feel like it's too easy for the film to say that they're just taking some drugs and now they now the world's unlocked.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, it's the whole logic of it falls apart the second you start analyzing it in any great detail. You've just got to let the whole thing wash over you.
Yeah.
Kind of like the drugs, just have it as an experience.
Exactly. Just
if you watch
sit
this
and
in a
enjoy
sensory
it.
deprivation tank, it'll be the ultimate experience.
That'd be good. That would be good.
I mean, I got massive American Werewolf in London vibes. That's a much better film, I think. But, you know, like, especially with, like, kind of the body horror aspects. And then, obviously, he pretty much does become, like, he becomes a Neanderthal man, doesn't he?
There was a very American Werewolf-esque shot.
Well, he's in a fucking zoo.
Well, I mean, when he's
thinking
coming out of the
about
basement, he's chasing the like engineer guy or the security guard.
Yeah.
And he's at the top of the stairs, and you can see the Neanderthal man like running along the corridor at the bottom and then coming up the stairs. And I thought that was a really creepy shot.
Yeah.
If I was that
It's the
caretaker,
same
though,
as-
I'd be like, I'm
yeah.
not going back down there again. Fuck that.
I loved those two. I love the kind of blue collar workers in this. Like,
Got my stick.
yeah, I've got my stick. It's a big monkey, so can I get some backup? And just him going to the security guard. Someone's let a monkey into the basement. Like,
I was thinking, is that William Hurt in costume? And then he like does this flip up into the scene. I was
Yeah.
like, no, that's definitely
Yeah.
not William.
it was some ballet dancer actually.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a dancer of some kind.
Yeah,
But I liked that whole thing. I mean,
Yeah, me
that
too.
could have come off really goofy, but I think it
No,
works
yeah.
in the context of the film.
I absolutely agree. It was just a little kind of. I absolutely loved the kind of build up to that. So, when he wakes up in the middle of the night, sleeping with, I think, is a grad student.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
well,
I thought
I
was a
think
bit-
he alludes to it earlier on that he's meeting up with one or something like that.
Right, because it's the way she kept on calling him doctor, whatever. I was like,
Yeah.
this is not good. But yeah, when he wakes up with that and his whole arms pulsing and his chest is kind of expanding and like his his brow ridge gets really prominent and that causes him to have like a nosebleed. And then like when he's in the shower and his foot changes and stuff like that into like a gorilla's foot, I just thought that was really cool body horror and really cool, like arresting kind of like visuals and stuff. I really, really like that bit. Though I couldn't tell if he was getting hairy or not, because I didn't know if that was just William Hurt was that hairy. But when he walks out of the bathroom and the entire room just turns into like hell, and stuff. I just thought that was so good. And
There's
that
a lot of really cool visuals.
yeah, really. And that leading up to the first experiment when he goes in on his own late at night, and comes out as like kind of the Neanderthal man. That was just really cool. It just kind of, because it was so blatant that it had happened to him. There was no question. I'd seen it, that it felt like a little bit deflated for the rest of the film for me, a little bit, like it hit its peak. And because I knew it was real by that point. The film had told me this actually happened, and there was a little bit of question if it had or not, really, between the characters. And I was just kind of like, I could have done with like one time it happening and me not knowing if it had happened or not. If that makes any sense as a criticism, I'm not sure. I might be rambling, but it's
Yeah, I can see that. It didn't bother me that much, but I can see it's like with American Werewolf. That's kind of like the peak, the dramatic peak of the transformation.
Yeah,
and then it's kind of down.
I
from
thought
there.
it should have kept each time. It should have kept getting further and further back, so he kept de-evolving even more. So he became the fucking fish that came onto land that kind of grew the.
Well, that's what he was meant to be in that final.
Yeah,
when
but it didn't
The whole
kind
thing
of-
turns. No, it didn't register at
Yeah.
all. But
I wanted
until he
him to be a
explained
big
it 10
fish
minutes
man.
later. Yeah, just flapping about
Yeah.
in the whirlpool.
you wanted
That's-
another 20 minutes of different. Like,
That set did look cool though.
It should have been like that Simpsons couch gag where it goes through the entire stages of evolution.
that whirlpool at Wicked though. I thought at the end.
I love all that stuff was amazing. Like the visuals of him being whatever he is.
Oh, I know what it reminded me of when he's bashing himself against the wall.
Is that just what you've been thinking of?
Yeah, it's the Aha video
Oh yeah,
where he's going from animated to the real Aha man. Anyway, I feel a lot better now. I've got that out of my brain.
But it's weird because he goes in. He does that one night, and he attacks the kind of security guard in the basement. He escapes from the basement. Then he sees some wild dogs and kind of makes friends with the wild dogs for a little bit, and then the wild dogs attack him for reasons that I wasn't totally sure why. And then he jumps into the zoo, and you get him kind of playing with like the rhinoceros first, and then
they made no indication that he was jumping into a zoo. He
No.
was just climbing over a wall. And then suddenly he
All of a
turns and
sudden
there's a
there's a-
fucking rhino there.
Well, obviously,
There was
there's imagery that would be something that he'd be used to seeing. That kind of thing. I don't know, like what do you call it? Like big megafauna? I don't know. What's the word? I don't know. Big
Mammoth.
Yeah.
I guess,
don't know.
yeah. but like, and then he's kind of, there's a bit when he's punching the elephants, which was weird. And then he visits the gift shop, because you have to visit the gift shop when you go to the zoo. And then he jumps into the kind of sheep enclosure, because he kind of then he attacks that one sheep and then eats it.
They weren't sheep, were they? They were like, weren't they like?
Yeah, I thought they were like deer or something.
Yeah, they were like.
I only say that because on the radio later they say a sheep was killed.
Yeah, that was a very confusing element, because I thought it was
sheep.
very clearly a deer, and they keep referring to it as a sheep later on.
I wrote down goat. I have to say, I thought they were goats.
Yeah.
No, anyway, they were horned.
Yeah, they were things. They were prey. I think that's all that's important. Maybe. Yeah, he devours it, and then you see him just lying naked next to that kind of devoured kind of corpse. And what I thought was really weird after this, you get these bits with Emily and him then, and he's just going mad. He's just screaming about stuff constantly. Like, it's really like, there's a line when he goes, "What the hell am I meant to do when they're fractioning rat brains?" or something. I'm like, what is this line? Like, what is this line that you've been asked to say? What does this even mean to me? Like, it's very weird how I couldn't work out if I was meant to be on like William Hurt's side or not. If I was meant to be kind of like scared of his unreasonable kind of anger towards this experiment that he wants to kind of like show that works, or kind of be on his side to be like, yes, you're kind of like, you're doing it, you're a scientist and you've actually got results, but you've gone too far kind of thing.
I mean, you don't really...
Sorry, no, you carry on.
I was going to say, there's not really an arc to it, because he starts the film off as an arrogant prick who always gets his own way, and he just continues that way through the rest of the film. So it's not as if the experiment has driven him to this height of madness, because he was already an arsehole to begin with.
Yeah, he was very unlikable at the beginning, which I thought was so odd. Like, and I've never heard two humans talk to each other like they talk to each other in this. It was just like these huge blocks of text of like very kind of verbose wording. Like, it was almost like someone's like, "I'm writing a scientist." And it just gave me real separation between kind of liking the characters. It really kind of cut me off from them, actually. Like, well, at least the main two, because it was really their time kind of dialogue that was like the issue for me.
Yeah, it wasn't so bad. I mean, like you said, Bob Balaban, he really carried it for the academic side.
He kind of like disappears though from from the middle. He pops back up at the end, doesn't he? When he kind of convinces them again. Like, I don't know how he managed to convince them again. Like, let's do it again. Yeah,
that was weird.
Because so he goes in. This is before he go. Is it before he goes fully Neanderthal? He has like a. They pull him out of the tank. He's got blood all around his mouth, and then they kind of they do tests on him, and they do like X-rays, and they find out the X-ray looks a bit like a gorilla, and
he had a sack in,
and he can't speak as well.
Gorillas have.
Yeah, he can't
that's
speak.
Why he couldn't speak.
Yeah.
I liked that when he was covered in kind of like the salts and the blood and stuff like that, and he was kind of like gasping for air, but trying to like write and stuff like that. I thought that was a really good scene. It really did. Like. But yeah, and then he goes back in again late at night on his own, and that's when he comes out as Monkey.
I'm picturing the show Monkey now, where he's born from
Monkey Magic.
It's like that meme I was thinking, that Return to Monkey or whatever. Then I don't know why she tries to talk him into not doing another experiment, but he talks her into it.
Well, no, she at one point says she believes it, doesn't she? She like kind of gets on board in that it's.
Well, she screams at one point, "Because I believe him, I want this thing stopped," which I just thought was such a wordy thing at that moment in time to scream. But there's a bit when she's in a house alone, and she calls him up to come round, and like she says that, like, you know, "I'm scared about what's going on. I need you to be with me to comfort me tonight." And it was a point when I was just like, I've never seen him being a comforting person or kind of element in at all. Like this is the weirdest part of the film for me.
Well, she doesn't seem to be like aware of his assholeness. Like he's the one who asked for a divorce. She was fully on board with the relationship. He's the one who wanted out of it.
She pretty much says she's like obsessed with him, doesn't she? She's like so into him though. That, like,
but it's just all this thing of being it's constantly just said. Constantly just
show don't
saying
tell
it, rather than me seeing anything. Like, and they do all that stuff at the beginning of the film for like good 15 minutes, I think, of like this is 7 years ago in the mid-60s. I guess what I needed from those bits at the beginning was actually to see them as like a couple or something, or just see them. I didn't need to see them before they had kids. I think just you could have just shown. I shouldn't try and rewrite. I shouldn't try and do that. But I just needed something to kind of feel them as being a couple. I think what kind of took me out of this a little bit.
Yeah, I can get on board with that.
I concur.
So yeah, but I mean, but apart from that, I just loved like I love body horror films. I really do. I love like Cronenberg films. I love like The Fly is a wonderful film, and you can tell. I think like this felt like The Fly to me a lot. Like it felt like a very similar kind of film and very similar kind of like setup and things.
Yeah, like definitely like another arrogant man that's kind of that kind of I don't know, just scientist that's a bit of a twat really. But I think I'd rather watch The Fly though, if I'm honest. But
totally. I love to, like, as you say, the way that Ken Russell just uses like the imagery of like the weird like swirling labs and the kind of like, especially the cave stuff with the tribe and the lighting from the fire and the kind of the cutting him and putting blood into it and things and all that kind of weird mysticism was just really cool. And I loved like the physical fireworks in the cave to kind of like simulate that kind of hallucinogenics and things was really arresting to me. There was a lot I liked about the film. There was something that just took me out of it, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I think like at least with The Fly, you've kind of, I think, what's his name? I'm terrible with names. Goldblum's like performance, even though he's an arsehole in it, he's like a likable kind of. You find him interesting, whereas I don't think you'd necessarily find William Hurt at all interesting in this film, which is a massive flaw in the film. Because I didn't hate the film, far from it. I kind of liked it, but I just think, and I do think William Hurt can be a good performer, but like. I just think it's probably just the way it was written. You couldn't get a likable character out of it, really.
I think for his first ever film performance, it's a great performance. Actually, it's a difficult like.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think it's his fault really that we don't like the character.
I think it's just, as you say, it's one of those films. I think the script was so heavy. I feel the script pulling on the film.
When he can try and put a bit of humanity in it, I think he does try and put that in.
Yeah.
So like, there's a little bit where Bob Balaban can't reach the mustard or whatever, and it's only a little moment where he just obviously he's a bit taller, so he can grab it and give it to him. It's just like it's like a 2-second thing, but thing like that. That's probably not in the script. That's just like a little bit that he kind of did just to kind of make him seem a little bit more relatable. I don't know.
I think you're right. I think the party scene at the beginning when like they're just passing spliffs and he's got ice in the bathtub and he's going around dropping ice in people's glasses and stuff. I really liked that. That felt really, really good to me, really human, like and really natural. And there's a lot of
William Hurt walks in and literally the door opens.
She's like,
in white light behind him.
Yeah, William Hurt's character can't enter a room without being bathed in like white light and just being like a shadow working.
But
as
soon as she sees him, she's like, "Oh, I like the cut of his jib."
And it just feels like it does feel like a film weighed down by like its messages or its script. Whereas, I mean, I read Ken Russell talking about the film, and he says that he doesn't like to shoot. The three standard things, close up coverage and whatever long. He says that he always shoots stuff with like flow to it.
Yeah, let's keep it moving.
And keep the camera moving around. But as he was in a weird place in his career. Like he said, like at this point in his career, he said Hollywood wouldn't give him a B movie because all his films kept on flopping. He was only his second time, I think, working in Hollywood, I think. And he was a bit worried about, taking this script from a 3-time Academy Award winner who was being incredibly difficult on set, and also like trying to look to actually make, films in the future, to actually be given scripts again. He tried to shoot it in a much more conventional way than he was used to shooting it. And he said that because of that, there was not the kind of, flowing kind of sets that he was used to kind of shooting it. And he says that like everyone, like only the writer, he said Paddy kept on trying to like mold him to shoot stuff the way Paddy wanted stuff shot. Like the color of the sensory tank wasn't right and stuff like that. And he was like, I'm not moldable. I'm Ken Russell. Like I shoot things how I shoot them. Let me kind of shoot shit. So I think I think you get a sense of that kind of clash through the film of just not too many cooks, but maybe Ken Russell not being quite as like free to shoot things the way he wants to shoot them, really.
Well, there's two things I always think about when people do long takes. One, that they're really confident that they know they can get the pacing and the tone just right by their own skill, by judging it all. But also I also think the less takes they do, the less coverage they do, the less chance of studios interfering with cutting the film up and stuff like that. Because if you've only got like one long take, you can't cut it up, so it's got to remain in the movie. So I always think that's like a bit of a game with that as well sometimes.
But he did say positively, he said, I thought I was going to hate working in Hollywood, and actually I really liked it. Is his comment about making this. He said like it was the only film I'd ever done when the studio weren't kind of like on me. Yeah, and like kind of at me and stuff, which was like that in Britain. I think it was very different because there's a lot less money. And it's a good, interesting film. Like it is.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to try and seek out some more Ken Russell stuff. Try and track down the uncut version of The Devils and things like that.
I'd like to see what you think of Tommy, because I really liked it. But
Tommy, yeah,
he's a pinball wizard.
I've heard that.
I think Lair of the White Worm's the only other one I watched, and I like Lair of the White Worm more.
Yeah, that's been on my wish list for a while. There's a Vestron Blu-ray that's been on my wish list.
Yeah, definitely. And I need to watch The Devils. The only thing I know about it is that it was so controversial because is it Oliver Reed is the lead of that? It was fully naked in it. It's the first time a man is fully naked on screen or something.
He definitely embraces like nudity, doesn't he? He doesn't care about it or shy away from it.
No, not at all. There's plenty of bums in this film.
Bums, willies, boobs, they're all there.
They're all there. I love the shot, actually, talking of boobs. I love the shot where the iguana, whatever it is, the Komodo dragon, kind of transforms into Blair, and she's like being like...
Oh, yeah.
And she's kind of being...
they become the ice sculpture. The sand sculpture.
The sand sculpture, yeah.
So good.
They both become sand sculptures, and then slowly, like the wind erodes
part of the earth. And,
it's so good. Like I absolutely love that stuff.
Thanks for reminding me about that bit, because that bit was really good. I did like that bit.
Yeah, that was like that, and that's all that stuff in that kind of cave things, and those are the stuff you can tell that Ken Russell's bringing.
Oh, he definitely brought that to it.
Yeah.
Like it made me laugh at how much it was like 2001 or the Star Trek movie at the end, where it's just like I was half expecting to see Spock flying through the wormhole, or whatever it is,
with Vega or whatever. It is. It's definitely post. It is post motion picture as well, isn't it? Because motion picture is 79 or whatever it is. Like and it's definitely post 2001 film. Really is like. But as watching this kind of psychedelic kind of body horror films, I think it's a really like great step to watch if you kind of cutting between the 70s and then watching kind of Cronenberg in the 80s. It's definitely a film to kind of put in there, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I'd like I said, I just wish it went a bit bit further though. I don't know.
No, I agree.
You know, like for example, the transformation. Like you only see you just see the bubbling under the skin and stuff. Whereas like you look at American Werewolf that came out a year later. That transformation sequence is like, I mean, it's a much more showy movie though, that isn't it though? But like that transformation sequence, like still talked about this to this day, like as one of the greatest like transformation sequences.
I prefer The Howling.
Do you?
I think so.
Oh, interested.
I haven't watched The Howling in so long, actually. That's been years since I watched that.
I know why you prefer The Howling though, but
Why?
well, it's directed by your boy, isn't it?
I like John Landis, although that's a controversial position to have.
When he's not murdering, when he's not murdering people. I tell you what, watch the Shutter. Is it Shudder or Shutter? The Shudder show called Cursed Films, because there's one episode that's about the
Twilight Zone,
and like Jay Cheeley directed it. He watched the raw footage.
Oh,
and he was like, he said the way that the helicopter crashed, there was no need for that. You could have done like a forced perspective,
right?
And there was no need for them to be that close to where they were. It's like ridiculous.
Yeah, I remember like back in the LimeWire or like Kazaa days, there was some Twilight Zone footage on there, and somebody downloaded it on the college computers.
No way.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could watch it, to be honest.
There was only one angle. It wasn't that graphic, but yeah, but it wasn't good.
The fact that you know what happened afterwards.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Yeah,
like,
you can piece it together from what you saw. It's not good.
No.
But yeah, Three Amigos is good.
I actually hallucinated watching the Three Amigos. I was in hospital on morphine, and it was on the TV. But it wasn't like it was on the TV. It was almost like it was being projected, and it was playing out in front of me. It was like all around me. It was so bizarre. I've never had like an experience like that. It's like, well, this is nuts.
Is he really related to Altered States then?
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah.
He regressed into Martin Short.
Toss me. Is it launch me? I forgot what he says now. Is it launch me?
I think it's launch me, yeah.
It's launch me, the rest of the yeah. Like, launch me. I need to watch it. I need to watch Three Amigos again.
Like, the bush scene alone is amazing.
Which one's the bush scene?
The singing bush.
Yeah.
Oh, God. That reminds me of watching the Godzilla films. It has my favourite ever fake bush that I've ever seen in a film. When they're invading like a spy compound, and they've just got a huge bush on like planks that they're pretending to hide behind. It's amazing.
What was it we were talking about last week? 'Cause it's like Galaxy Quest, and there was another film we were talking about. My name is Bruce. Like, Three Amigos goes in there, doesn't it? Because it's all about kind of like thinking they're these actual,
Oh, right, yeah. The kind of films when the people are hired to...
Because they think they're those actual people, yeah.
Yeah. That is
Three Amigos also has one of the best uses of a stunt dummy I've ever seen in a motion picture.
Which bit's that?
one?
When Martin Short is climbing along some hanging decorations, and when they're breaking into the compound, and they all start firing into the air, and he panics and falls, and the stunt dummy just lands flat on the table in front of him. Just the sheer violence of the dummy hitting the ground is stupendous.
There's a bit in, I think it's Godzilla. I think it's a Godzilla film. It must be. When someone commits suicide, he kind of walks up and just jumps out of a window, and it's the best like dummy that ever just gets thrown out of a window I've seen in a film.
Well, I was watching Eraserhead today. There's a bit where the main guy, I've forgotten what the main character's called. Hang on. Eraserhead, what's his name? Is it Herbert? Henry Spencer. So yeah, Henry Spencer, like he's it's the scene where it's got the kind of the woman behind the radiator, and like he at some point he meets her and kind of like kind of confronts her, but his head falls off, and then he grows the head of the baby. But the head that falls off then falls out of the window of the apartment and lands on the floor. But it's like a paper mache head. It's like, but you know, it worked fine in that film because it's like, yeah, sure, whatever. And then they take this head to the kind of back in the apartment where he lives, and like down below there's a guy with this like weird pencil factory, and he just kind of starts rubbing out the paper with the end of the pencil, and he's like, yeah, it's good. And I was like, what the fuck's going on? I have no idea what's going on, but it was really weird.
Anyway, Altered States. Any other final thoughts or things you want to say?
I loved it. I will watch it again at some point.
Oh, did you actually love it then?
Yeah, and I thought I'll don't think about it, just watch it.
Yeah.
Don't try and think about, try and understand the plot or work out the logistics of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, I thought it was good. I don't think I'd watch it again, to be honest. But I was happy enough to watch it, and I enjoyed it enough. But it's not one I'd probably whack on again. It's a solid 3, maybe 3.5 out of 5 for me.
I think I agree with James. Like, despite what I've been saying, like it's what I didn't like about it was like the human kind of elements of it, the kind of William Hurt and Blair elements of it. But now I've seen it, like watching it as just like these series of kind of like slow paced kind of hallucinogenics and little transformations and scenes and stuff like that. That's really cool and that's really fun to watch. And that's its benefit, you know. The Ken Russell elements of this, I think it's its benefit, and it's made me want to kind of explore more Ken Russell stuff and see what he does with visuals, because I think the stuff that he obviously brought to this script, I loved all of that stuff. It was the stuff from the script that I think I didn't love, basically, like and a lot of the dialogue I just found alienating, because they just like the way the stuff they were having to say I just found really hard to kind of digest. But knowing that, like, I can say that the Ken Russell elements of this I thought were really cool and really kind of engaging. So like, yeah, I'm glad I saw it, really.
Yeah, it's like I said earlier, like I prefer films like From Beyond, which are they're a bit more campy though, and a bit more like, you know, you've kind of got who's your main guy in that?
Jeffrey Combs.
Jeffrey Combs, like his performance in that is so big, and like just like I don't know if it's as big as his performance in
his head off like a gingerbread man.
Yeah, but like it just goes for it much harder. The kind of the whole otherworldliness of it, and I mean that is probably a bit because it's a bit more H.P. Lovecraft, so it's about alternative dimensions and stuff like that. It probably, you know, it's not aiming to do the same kind of thing, but that's where I kind of lean towards, and when it's this kind of thing. But I'm glad I watched it.
But yeah, I mean, like all the films you keep referencing are all after this as well, though. Like,
yeah, but don't forget the H.P. Lovecraft story came before that.
Yeah, I know, but I just mean like,
yeah, but 90% of the stuff in the film isn't in the story.
Shut up. Do you mean Ken Foray wearing his wet red Speedos aren't in the original book?
Can you imagine like an early 20th century illustration of Ken Foray and his Speedos?
Well, to be fair, I don't think H.P. Lovecraft would have a character like him in any of his books, to be fair.
No.
He did, but he wasn't too kind to him.
No.
Yeah, but so I think that's what I find kind of cool is a lot of the stuff I kept on thinking about when watching this is actually all after it. Apart from
you are right.
Stuff like,
to be fair, it is like it is a not a forerunner, but still, yeah, I guess, but it predates those, so you know.
Yeah, it's a step.
Who knows
towards
this
kind of
yeah.
And when you're talking about 80s kind of horror, and those are the kind of things we think about, The Fly and like From Beyond and things like that. It's definitely a trend that we can see coming out of like 70s films, and this is one of the steps of that, I think. Like, and then Werewolf and things. So I think it's really kind of cool. It has
maybe
its
I shouldn't
definitely
be so harsh on it.
So yeah, what did you say? I think my rating's probably going to be hovering around like 3.5, 4. I think probably around there. Like, just because I struggled with the kind of some of the aspects of the film.
3.5 for me, I think.
I'm going to go 4.
Oh.
Yeah, fuck you guys.
So yeah, now that Altered States is done and dusted, what are we talking about next week?
I don't know. I'm looking it up. Next week, My Dinner with Andre, which I only know from Community.
We've got Brandon on that, haven't we?
Yeah, I've got Brandon on that.
In my head, every time I think of My Dinner with Andre, I always think of Billy Crystal and the Giant movie, and I don't know why those always pop up in my head when I think of My Dinner. I think it's because I think of Andre the Giant, and then I think My Giant.
I was going to say Andre Giant and My Giant.
Yeah, I think that's where it kind of all...
My Giant Andre.
Yeah.
I always think of the Simpsons, where Martin Prince is playing the arcade game of My Dinner with Andre, and he's got the options of on the joystick of Witty Bon Mot or Tell Me More, and he's like, "Oh, tell me more."
Anyway, thanks for joining us, James. It's been a pleasure as always.
All right, I do what I can.
Good. Where can people find you on all the socials?
Untamedaggression.com is my main site. Links to all the social medias are on there. And then there's headsapoppin.com as well, which is specifically for the forthcoming motion picture, Heads a Poppin'.
All right, thanks very much for listening, and please don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe on whatever you listen to us on, be that Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, all them places. You'll find us there. Please do the things I said. You can reach out to us on Twitter. We are at Adjust Your Track. That's with a YR, not a your. And please don't forget, if the picture's bad, always adjust your tracking.